Welcome to this practice session for the Florida Class E driver license knowledge test. What is the maximum speed limit in a municipal, business, or residential area in Florida unless otherwise posted? 30 miles per hour. This is the default speed limit in Florida's populated areas. Ready for the next one. If you refuse to submit to a lawful chemical test, breath, blood, or urine after a DUI arrest, what is the mandatory penalty for a first refusal? A 1-year license suspension. Florida has an implied consent law, and refusing the test results in a mandatory license suspension. Time for a new question. When two vehicles reach an unmarked intersection at the same time, which vehicle has the right of way? The driver on the right. The driver on the right has the right of way at an unmarked or uncontrolled intersection. Moving along now. What is the minimum legal blood alcohol content limit for a driver who is 21 years of age or older in Florida? 0.08%. This is the legal threshold for intoxication for adult drivers. Let's see this one. If a school bus stops on a 2-lane highway and its red lights are flashing, what must you do? All traffic moving in either direction must stop. On a 2-lane road, all vehicles must stop for a stopped school bus to protect the children. Next question up. When must you use your headlights? Between sunset and sunrise and during rain or smoke. This covers the mandatory times to use headlights for visibility. Take a moment for this one. What is the minimum speed limit on an interstate highway with 4 or more lanes where the maximum is 70 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour? This minimum speed limit is in place to maintain a safe flow of traffic. On to the next topic. What is the penalty for violating Florida's move over law for the first time? A non-criminal traffic infraction. While non-criminal, violating the move over law results in a fine and points on your license. Moving ahead, what is the recommended safe following distance under ideal conditions? A 3-second gap. The 3-second rule provides adequate stopping time in good weather. Here's another one. What should you do to recover from a skid? Steer in the direction you want the front of the car to go and avoid braking. The key to skid recovery is to steer into the skid and not panic brake. Ready for the next one. What shape and color is a no passing zone sign? Yellow pennant sideways triangle. This sign is located on the left side of the road to warn drivers before the start of a no passing zone. Time for a new question. A yellow diamond-shaped sign indicates what? A warning of potential hazards or road conditions ahead. The diamond shape is universally used for warning signs. Moving along now, what does a flashing red traffic light mean? Stop completely, then proceed when safe, like a stop sign. A flashing red light must be treated exactly like a stop sign. Let's see this one. What must you do before turning right on a red light in Florida? Come to a complete stop and yield to pedestrians and traffic. A full stop and yielding are mandatory before proceeding with a right turn on red. Next question up. What does a double solid yellow line in the center of the highway mean? Traffic is moving in 2 directions and passing is not allowed in either. A double solid yellow line strictly prohibits passing for all traffic. Take a moment for this one. When parking uphill with a curb, which way should you turn your wheels? Away from the curb. Turning the wheels away from the curb left ensures that if the brakes fail, the car will roll back into the curb and stop. On to the next topic. How long must a person under 18 hold a learner's permit before being eligible for a Class E license? At least 12 months without any traffic convictions. This 1-year minimum period is required to gain experience. Moving ahead, how many hours of supervised driving experience are required to get a Class E license? 50 total hours, with 10 of those hours at night. This minimum practice time is required for new drivers. Here's another one. To avoid a head-on collision, what is generally the best action? Steer right toward the shoulder. In most cases, steering right is best, as the opposing driver may correct back into their lane. Ready for the next one. What are the 3 main categories of distracted driving? Visual, manual, and cognitive. These categories represent the eyes, hands, and mind being taken off the primary task of driving. Time for a new question. You are required to dim your high beams when an oncoming vehicle is within how many feet? 500 feet. This is the rule to prevent blinding an approaching driver. Moving along now. What must you do if you are involved in a crash that results in injury, death, or property damage over $500? Immediately stop and call the police. This is a mandatory legal requirement for serious accidents. Let's see this one. The force of impact in a crash increases by how much when you double your speed? 4 times. The force of impact increases by the square of the change in speed, making high speed especially dangerous. Next question up. When should you increase your following distance to more than 3 seconds? When driving in bad weather at night or behind a large truck. You need a greater cushion for reduced visibility or longer stopping distances. Take a moment for this one. What does a steady yellow traffic light mean? The light is about to turn red. Stop if you can do so safely. A steady yellow warns that the right-of-way is about to change. On to the next topic. What is the correct hand signal for a left turn? Left arm extended straight out. This is the standard manual signal for a left turn. Moving ahead. If you hit a parked car and cannot find the owner, what must you do? Leave a note with your information and report the accident to the police. This is a legal requirement to notify the owner and law enforcement of the incident. Here's another one. When can you legally pass another vehicle on the right? When the vehicle you are passing is making a left turn or on a multi-lane roadway. Passing on the right is only legal under these specific conditions. Ready for the next one. What does a sign with a red circle and a slash through a picture of a horn mean? Do not blow your horn. The red circle and slash indicate that the pictured action is prohibited. Time for a new question. What is the closest distance you are allowed to park from a fire hydrant in Florida? 15 feet. This mandatory distance ensures access for fire services. Moving along now. What does it mean if you see red reflectors on the lane lines facing you? You are driving the wrong way against traffic. Red reflectors are a critical warning that you are traveling in the wrong direction. Let's see this one. When driving in heavy fog or smoke during the daytime, what lights should you use? Low beam headlights. Low beams minimize glare and make your vehicle visible to others. Next question up. What is hydroplaning? When your tires ride on a film of water and lose contact with the road. Hydroplaning is the loss of traction caused by water pressure under the tires. Take a moment for this one. When an emergency vehicle is stopped with its lights flashing on a multi-lane road, what does the move over law require you to do? Move over one lane away from the vehicle or slow down to 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. This is the core requirement of the move over law to protect emergency personnel. On to the next topic. What does a red and white triangular sign pointing down indicate? Yield. The downward pointing triangle is the unique shape of a yield sign. Moving ahead. A five-sided sign shaped like a house pentagon indicates what? School zone or school crossing. This unique shape warns drivers of school-related areas. Here's another one. What color are signs that warn you about construction or road maintenance? Orange. Orange signs are used for temporary work zones. Ready for the next one. What must you do when a pedestrian is in a crosswalk? Yield the right of way and stop until the pedestrian has cleared your lane. Drivers must always yield to pedestrians in a crosswalk. Time for a new question. How far distance should you signal before making a left or right turn? 200 feet. Signaling 200 feet in advance gives other drivers enough time to react. Moving along now. What is the legal blood alcohol content (BC) limit for a driver under 21 years old in Florida? Zero tolerance law. $0 Florida's zero tolerance law means almost any alcohol consumption is a violation for underage drivers. Let's see this one. What should you do if your right wheels drop off the pavement while driving? Ease off the gas, avoid braking, and steer gently back onto the pavement. This controlled procedure helps prevent overcorrecting and losing control. Next question up. What should you do if you have a tire blowout? Steer firmly to keep the vehicle straight, ease off the gas, and brake gently. A firm grip and gentle actions are key to maintaining control during a blowout. Take a moment for this one. When approaching a railroad crossing with flashing lights and bells, what must you do? Stop at least 15 feet from the nearest rail. The 15-foot minimum stop distance provides a safety margin from the tracks. On to the next topic. What color are guide signs that indicate public parks, recreation, or historical sites? Brown guide signs indicate cultural or recreational interest. Moving ahead. What should you do to recover from a stuck accelerator pedal? Shift to neutral or turn off the ignition and brake carefully. Putting the car in neutral removes power from the engine, allowing you to stop safely. Here's another one. What is required for all new drivers in Florida, those who have never held a driver license? Completion of a traffic law and substance abuse education, TLSAE, course. The TLSAE course is mandatory for all first-time license applicants. Ready for the next one. What are the consequences of not being covered by personal injury protection, PIP, and property damage liability, PDL insurance in Florida? Suspension of driver license and vehicle registration. Florida's financial responsibility law mandates these coverages, and failure to comply leads to suspension. Time for a new question. Where should you never make a three-point turn? On a curve, hill, or where traffic is heavy, these locations have poor visibility and high traffic, making a turn dangerous. Moving along now. What does a single broken white line on the highway mean? Traffic is moving in the same direction, and you may change lanes. A broken white line allows for passing and lane changes. Let's see the final question. What is the time restriction for a driver with a learner's permit during the first 3 months? Can only drive during daylight hours. New permit holders are restricted to daylight driving for the initial period. That concludes our review of the Florida Class E license test questions. Drive responsibly,